Welcome to Sisters in Crime Murder Monday, where authors talk about their crime craft. My name is Jacq, and I'm a bibliophile, copywriter, podcaster, and member of Sisters in Crime Australia, where we've been celebrating women's crime writing since 1991. My guest for this month's Murder Monday is award-winning American author Raquel V. Reyes, who cooks up the scrumptious Caribbean kitchen mystery series from her home in Florida. Hello, Raquel. Raquel's early childhood has been described as not unlike an I Love Lucy rerun, with a handsome Cuban father and a red-headed Southern mother whose smile brightened the room. These days, Raquel specializes in writing culinary cozies. Her Cuban-American heritage, Miami and Spanglish, feature prominently in her work. Her 2021 debut novel, Mango, Mambo and Murder, introduces Cuban-American food anthropologist Miriam Quiñones, I almost got that right, Raquel Smith, who becomes a seasoned sleuth and a cooking star. It won a Lefty for Best Humorous Mystery. It was also nominated for an Agatha Award and optioned for a film. The sequel, Calypso Corpses and Cooking, followed a year later. It's just been nominated for an Anthony Award for Best Humorous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Raquel's short stories appear in various anthologies, including Best American Mystery and Suspense 2022 and Midnight Hour. Raquel is also, on top of all of this, a co-chair for Sleuth. Raquel, could you give us the elevator pitch for your next novel in the series, Barbacoa Bomber and Betrayal, out with Penguin in November?
Sure. So book 1 and book 2 were set in Miami. Book 3, Miriam gets to go to Puerto Rico.
Yay!
But first she takes, I know. But first she takes a detour to Dominican Republic, where you get to meet Miriam's parents.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'm so excited to introduce the readers to Miriam's parents, because they've only kind of, heard about them.
Yeah.
And then there's lots of things that go on. It happens in Old San Juan, which is a colonial city. It's a little micro city, and looks out over the beautiful bay. And a lot of themes going on in there that reach far back into the past, into history, but also are very current with things that are going on. I mean, they're tied together. If you don't fix the things from the past, they're going to happen again in the present time. So I deal with some of that stuff. We have a lot of fun. Her best friend is there with her, and it's a great time.
Fantastic.
Almost there. Jorge's there. It's a good time.
Oh, absolutely. Brilliant. So let's get straight into the questions.
Okay.
How much of you is in your characters?
50%, 65%.
That's pretty good.
They're Cuban American, usually I deal with contemporary issues. So there are also issues that I kind of deal with.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it stops. We do draw from life, but not entirely.
Excellent. Are you part of a writers group?
I am not part of a writers group. You mean like a critique group where you're reading each other's work and that type of thing?
Well, I'm thinking I'm part of a writers group, and we kind of do lunch and mimosas, but yeah.
I want to be a member of your writing group. I'm a member of Mystery Writers of America Florida chapter. And so we do have monthly meetings. And so I do have writer friends that are local, but I don't really have that. And I'm also a member of Crime Writers of Color, which is a wonderful online group, which has been so supportive. But I don't really have that, here, read my thing, I'll read your thing. Let's talk about it, that kind of a thing. Yeah.
What is your writing routine?
So I wake up pretty early. I wake up at 5 a.m., but I'm having my coffee and I'm checking my social media. Probably if you follow me, you're like, oh, wow, she's so productive. I'm not really. I'm just drinking my coffee and scrolling. And then when the caffeine hits, I sit down and I write for an hour and a half or so every morning. And I like to say I'm a slow writer. I'm really happy if I can get 400, 500 words in an hour and a half. But I edit as I go. So it's not that Fast and Furious, and then you go back and do edits and I don't my first draft, second draft, and third draft are all combined.
Why did you choose cozy?
I love cozies, and I like to think of it as a traditional mystery.
Yeah.
I love the puzzle of it. I remember reading Agatha Christie, and it just didn't speak to me because of where it was set. I just the land, the gentry, the aristocrat, all of that. I was like, well, that's interesting. But
I was about to say the cold weather, the plain food,
the tea. I'm not a tea drinker. I'm sorry to offend anyone, but I can't. Literally does not sit well with me. It turns my stomach. I can't. So then I started reading Elizabeth Peters books, and I liked those. So those had more of culture and anthropology and archaeology and art history and those themes. And so that's what got me into it. And I like cozies because it's it's low stakes violence and gore, and high rewards justice. And I love that combination. Romance has the happily ever after or happy for now. Cozy mysteries have the justice is served. And so what you're getting when you go into that. And so that's certainly what drew me to it. And the settings. You fall in love with the settings, right?
Do you have a favorite food when you write?
Oh, well, if you follow me on social media, which I'm a Latina sleuth, I'm on Instagram a lot. Sometimes I'll put my after writing snack, which is usually a pastry of some sort. A cheese Danish. If it has almonds in it, if it has nuts in it, love it. Love it, love it, love it. I wish I could have my absolute favorite thing in the world after writing, which is croquetas and a jupiña. Jupiña is a pineapple soda, and croquetas are just divine. They're usually the ones you can get pretty easily are made out with ham, but they're yummy. But you got to have them fresh out of the fryer. And I've just given blood, sweat, and tears on the keyboard. I'm not gonna go heat up some oil and fry some things. I'm sorry.
So a pastry will do the job.
Exactly. Store-bought. It's fine.
This is a good thing. How important is connecting on social media or through newsletters?
Okay. If you're asking as a writer, is it important? Oh, honestly, I don't know. We don't have any metrics to determine if that post you made allowed you to sell 200 books.
Yes.
We don't have that, right?
Yeah.
But authors, we used to be able to go out to bookstores and do book tours and get to know people and so forth. And there's much less of that now. So I think that is taking place in social media.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying. You get to have small interactions with your readers and your fans. And, that word of mouth is the most important thing. And besides that, I just enjoy it. I've always been on social media. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up with it. I've seen it develop. It's all my friends are like, I have friends that I've not met. 20-year-old, I've never met them.
Yeah.
I've been with them for over 20 years and I've never met them because we're, so yeah.
We connected online. Well, no, I've got to say the same thing. I mean, my day job is in audio production, and the guy who does my podcast, we've never actually met. We've worked together for 5 years, but we've never actually met. And I consider him a very good friend.
Exactly.
So it is incredible, isn't it? Look at where we've come to.
I know. I'm in Florida. You're in Australia. Imagine that.
I know.
Imagine that,
Here we go. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a plantser. I'm the combination of it. I have a structure. I know I know when the body drops. I know several key scenes.
Yeah.
And I know how I want it to end, like theoretically,
Yep.
but
Yep.
not necessarily the details of it.
Uh-huh.
And then I let the story take me where it needs to take me.
Now,
Yeah.
Dinica McKenzie told us the other day that she was a scaffolder.
A what?
A scaffolder.
Oh,
So you've
I
got that.
like that term. Yeah.
And I just went, well, that just sounds like a really good option C.
Well, and then I've heard it called a discovery writer, which I do like that, because you're
Yes.
discovering as you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And in a series, because you know your characters,
Yeah.
you know, you don't need to do so much plotting and character development, because you've grown along with them, you know, that
Yeah.
you've brought them along. So
What is the hardest part about writing?
the middle part of the book, the muddy middle, is the hardest part.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. It's the, you know, the book gets done drop by drop, and you just have to sit down and you have to keep committed. And I'm pretty committed, except when you get to that middle and you're like, oh my God, it's never going to end. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. And so for me, like, there's a number, there's a threshold. Like, when I pass that, I'm like, you know, it's like going up a hill, right? Yeah. You know, at the beginning, it's fun, and then it gets tough. But when you cross that hill and you're like, okay, I got this. And you know, you the finish line. Yeah.
Does your main character, so does Miriam ever surprise you?
Sure, she surprises me. You know, she's in my head most of the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing all the time. You know, like when I finish, when I hand in a manuscript and I'm done with it, I kind of take a break and I like lock it away and like don't think about it for a good number of weeks until, you know, past pages comes or edits or come, you know. So but when I'm working on a new story, which I am now, I'm working on book 4, you know, she's in my head and we're having a conversation and I'm like, well, you could do that. And it's like, well, that wouldn't work for her, you know, like, so she's kind of talking to me going, well, I don't want to do that. You know, I mean, it's never anything major. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. For sure. She's definitely a voice distinct from my own. So
how do you choose your titles?
That could be a whole nother segment. Because I just had I just had several boxing rounds with my publisher over the title. So I come up with a title.
Yep.
And then you then they say, well, give us 5 more titles. And then you go back and forth. Oh yeah. And you go back and forth on them. And, you know, all the titles are somewhat similar. I mean, it's not like you're taking a huge departure. You know, there's a formula to my title. You're going to have something probably involving food or culture. You're going to have a musical style or a dance.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have a crime word, right? So, you know, they've got to fit into that. And then the alliteration. But when I start writing, I come up with a title that I like, and then I want to make sure that I put weave those things into my story. So my titles are like really important to me.
Yeah.
Calypso, Corpses, and Cooking was going to be Calabazas, Calypso, and Corpses. No cooking. And because calabaza is a pumpkin in the Caribbean, in Spanish. And so since it was set during Halloween, I was like, oh, pumpkins, you know, but they got rid of that one. Then my second choice for that one was caramelos, which is candy.
Yep.
I mean, caramel, candy, Halloween.
Yep.
And I won't even go into barbacoa, bomba, and betrayal.
Next question. Do you have a day job or do you write full time?
I have a day job, but I'm very lucky that I work for a small family business. So I have a lot of flexibility and so forth.
Mhm.
So very, very lucky. I know that I could not do this writing if I worked for a job that was very rigid
Yeah.
and required me to stick to a certain schedule. I'm very lucky. I can say, oh, I get my work done and I come home and I'm able to jump on a podcast or travel to a conference. No, I'm very lucky to have the flexibility. But yeah, I do have a full-time job, 2 full-time jobs, writing and the other thing that pays the bill.
Yeah.
So.
Do you start with the plot, the character, or something else?
I start with the scene. In my head, it's the scene. So in book 1, and this is not giving anything away because it's in the back cover blurb.
Yes.
Miriam is sitting next to someone at a women's luncheon, and she falls face first into the chicken salad. So that was my inciting scene.
Yeah.
In the second book, it was, again, where was the body? The first body that corpses is true because there's several corpses in the second. I went a little woo. I really went with the theme there.
Yeah.
And then same with the third book. I knew that scene, and then I kind of build out from there.
Aha. Which ties into the next question. How important is place?
Place. Well, if you're writing a cozy, it's number 1 importance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sets the mood, it sets the tone. Absolutely. I think it is extreme, and because if you get it wrong, your readers know, and if you get it right, they aren't even thinking about it. They're like there.
Yes.
They're walking there with you. So yeah.
Well, I have to say, I'm in Miami each time.
Oh, I love it.
And I really want to try the recipes. How do you work out plot twists and red herrings?
That is a good one, because you have to have them.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. And so I kind of, when I write, I keep a notebook beside me and I jot down little notes, or I jot down things that I have to pick up. If organically I've put something there and I don't know if it's going to be important later or not important, I'll make a note. And sometimes that can become a red herring.
Yeah.
So, it's like, oh, that led me to believe it was such and such. It was the culprit. But then I make sure that I'm bringing it back in and tying it up so that we know it was a red herring and not a clue. It's there's not a formula to it that I use. I know that Katrina McPherson gave this really great talk. I think it was a Sister in Crime thing. It might be in the archives, about how to plant clues. And it's like a rule of 3. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I should try to do that. Brilliant.
And has it worked?
I have. But I have the intention.
Absolutely. 3/4 of the problem is the intention.
Exactly.
How do you keep track of all the players in the story?
I'm old-fashioned Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
I have an Excel spreadsheet, and as the series goes on, there's more and more tabs, but the master tab are the characters. And so it's the character, some basic information that I need. And then I have a column that is when was it introduced. So it'll either be MMM, Mango Mama Murder, or CCC, or whichever book it was introduced in. Yeah.
And so that'll keep track of characters, names, the whole thing.
Characters' names, ages. When I first start, I'm color coding it.
Yeah.
So I have like, oh, this is family members. These are workplace things. These are villain. But as I go on, that kind of falls to the wayside. As long as I've got the information there, I can search for it. And I know it's good. And then my publisher does give me a style Bible, which has a listing of all the characters in it.
Wow.
Which is good. So like it's kind of like my backup system, just like oh, if I didn't write it in my Excel, I'll go check it in the Style Bible.
Perfect. Alrighty, final question. Are you ready?
Sure.
How would you get away with murder?
I live very near Biscayne Bay, the Atlantic Ocean. I adore the ocean. I have great respect for the ocean, and it holds lots of bodies. And so that is what I would say. I also live near the Everglades, in theory. It's just a drive away.
Yeah.
Where we have alligators. And so that's a second option. If I'm unable to get the boat, then I can just, and there's lots of bodies in the Everglades too.
There we go. That's how you live in a very dangerous place.
Says you. Everything is poisonous over there.
Oh, but they have to catch you first. Oh, thank you so much, Raquel. That's just been so much fun. We trust you find a very hungry audience here in Australia. So best wishes for the next book, Barbacoa, Bomba and Betrayal. I can't wait to meet Miriam's parents. Murder Monday interviews are available on Sisters in Crime YouTube channel at 6 p.m. once a month on a Monday. Raquel, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.